it's a little darker than usual because I forgot something. I'll be back in 2 seconds with more light. And the light shall be. That is better. Hello, everybody. Just put this a little more here. Ooh. And do a little more here. And hello, everyone. Welcome aboard. This is the Shortwave show. And we are now starting. So just check if everything's all right. And here we go. So everything looks fine. Perfect. Let me just let's do this. Hey, everybody. Welcome aboard to this Friday edition of the Shortwave radio show. We are here twice a week in general with a live show on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 0 hours Universal Time. And we are here on Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, 20 hours Universal Time. And we have a special show that's coming Sunday on another channel, which is the official VHF UHF channel. So if you're interested in anything above 30 megahertz, it will have nothing to do with shortwave. We have a special show where we'll actually talk about satellite tracking, hopefully live satellite receive on the computer here, on the SDR player SPDX. And we'll talk about, what's required and all of that. So the special Sunday show, this coming Sunday, August the 30th, 20 hours Universal Time, on the VHF UHF channel, so don't look for it here. It's on the other channel. Next week also is what I will probably be my last week off. So next week is another week where I'm gonna be off of live shows. So don't look for me next week. But after next week, we'll be back. We'll come back after Labor Day weekend here in North America. So we'll be back at the regular weekly schedules of shows, Wednesday and Friday. So next week is the last week off. I actually plan a few little things, and one of them is going to a little bit of de-expedition with my radios. And I am also planning to do I actually have a cruise ship little thing on the St. Lawrence River with friends, where we'll be it's a supper cruise. So I'm gonna be with 3 other friends. We're gonna eat like pigs. We're gonna have some food on the ship and the cruise ship. It's a 3.5-hour cruise on the St. Lawrence River at night, and that's gonna happen next Thursday. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. Going to take our mind off of whatever is happening right now, also at the same time. Getting back into what is hopefully, or trying to be, a little more normal. Here, things are getting a little more hectic. I see that there's more people everywhere. People seem to be kind of going back to work and school and everything. So it looks, if it wasn't for the masks that everybody wears, it would almost look normal, right now. So this is a show about radio. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and northeast part of North America. And we talk about shortwave radio and have a lot of fun. There's a beautiful chat room where there's wonderful people that share the passion of the hobby and are just great people that want to help each other. That also is a lot of fun. And when all of this is over, because, it looks like a big party, I often say it, and it's not a joke. When I do the live shows, I have the impression of being with like a lot of people here in my room, even though it's a chat room. And when I end, it's like the party is over. Well, the Facebook group is there to complete that, to continue in the spirit of having fun and being, just cool with radio and a bunch of great people just enjoying one single fascinating thing, radio and radio waves, and listening to stations from far away. And there's a couple of the things I want to talk about. There's two things that I participate in that I'm proud of, and that also you guys can listen or join. There's the Canadian International DX Club. That is a radio club that is that has a bulletin called the Messenger every month. It is a great little bulletin with lots of information. I have the utility column in there, and there's, even though it says Canadian International DX Club, there's more information in there than just, for people in Canada. It's truly a radio communications magazine. And at the same time, you're part of a club called the CIDX. So if you want to have, if you haven't asked one before, if you want to ask a sample copy of this bulletin to see what it looks like, sample copy comes from CIDX Club at yahoo.com. So CIDX Club at yahoo.com. And only ask for one, because if you asked already, you cannot have a second one. If you ask for one, you'll be able to see what it is. It's a PDF publication that you get in your email every month. And we talk about all aspects of radio in there, from, DC to daylight, as they say. And if you do join, it's really, really cheap. $10 for 1 year, $25 for 3-year subscription. I think it's a great value for the price. Very professionally made and lots of interesting information in there. The other thing that I'm involved in, and actually just before this show is started, we recorded this together. Sheldon Harvey and me have recorded the next episode of the International Radio Report that I have edited and sent in. And actually, I just got a reply from CKUT saying that they have received it. Everything's okay. It's a radio show that we have here in CKUT 90.3 FM in Montreal. International Radio Report deals with everything radio of interest, and we have all sorts of diverse news items, from local news from local stations here to international news and events, all related in some way to radio. It's a 30-minute show that you can listen to on Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern or at 14:30 UTC. And if you missed the show, or if you want to listen to the past archive, 3 months of shows are available on the archive. Head on to ckut.ca, and there you will be able to stream live. You'll be able to check out the archives and listen to last Sunday's show, for example, or listen for the 3 last months of shows. It's a great show. It's an honor for me to be part of it. When the first time I heard the International Radio Report, I still remember, and it's a long time ago. I probably listened to, so that show started in 1987. I probably heard it for the first time somewhere in the early 90s, I would say, with probably like 19, maybe even mid 90s. Maybe I've listened to it for the first time like in 94, 95, 1994. And I remember I heard the show. Probably either I had some news that it was existed, or since regularly do FM scans, I'm almost wondering if I didn't just by accident on a Sunday morning stumble upon the International Radar Report, but maybe I did see it also in CIDX. And I still remember telling myself, "Oh, how cool that would be to be on a show like that." Well, I didn't know that one day I would be on the show. And I'm happy to be part of it. And it's cool because, you know what? Sometimes we say the alignment of the planets are perfect for something to happen. So, you know, I've been on the show now for what? Probably close to 2 years now. And it all started with the 25th anniversary. So the 30th anniversary, sorry. 30th anniversary was in 2017. So there was a special show in 2017 for the 30th anniversary. I was part of the special show. That was the first time that I was actually part of the show. And I kind of hinted that, maybe I could join in from time to time. And at first, it wasn't every week. Then it became every week. It must be 2020. It's a good 2 years probably now that I'm regular on the show. And what's nice is, with COVID, the studios are shut down. So what was a problem on the International Radar Report, of course, was the fact that we couldn't record, we couldn't do the show anymore because the studio was something that we needed to access. And when that happened, at first, Sheldon said, well, maybe the show is going to take a break. But I didn't feel right about the show taking a break. I thought, well, if it's the kind of thing that when you take a break, it never comes back. It's the kind of thing that, if it's closed for a while, it might never come back after a break. And finally, I told, maybe like 24 hours later, I told Sheldon, you know what? Hang on. Let me check out how I can do this. Maybe we can pre-record it and send it in. And a couple of days later, I said, okay, I think I got the hang of it. The first show was so funny because it took a long time to record because it's a 30-minute show. And we tried to do it in one run, like if we were in the studio. And with the magic of course, being able to edit, it's fun because we can, clip out all the little parts that don't sound right, correct things that are weird, and so on. I said, so we're going to try this. And on that Friday, I still remember that Friday of was like March 20th, something like that, because it was just a week after the shutdown. We sat down, and it took, the time that I actually was able to fix all the quirks and quirks of everything that I had no idea would happen. Maybe it took 2 hours, but we finalized and recorded the show finally. We did it in 2 takes, I remember, because it took so much time in the first take to really do it right. And I said, okay, I think I got a hang of it, but now I'm going to have to do a live show. So I'm going to do a live show, and we'll do it tonight. And I remember we did it on the Friday evening. And after that, we did it every week. And now really, I'm getting the hang of it. There are a few things that I'm not pleased with. There's a bit of noise in the audio quality that I'd like to remove, and I don't have a console, so the way I'm recording, it's kind of difficult. There's kind of a feedback going on, and I can't wear headphones because if I wear headphones, the sound doesn't go in certain parts. So it's a little complicated, but we're doing the job and we're working at it, and at least it shows there. And I remember when we did the first show, we got a few people listening in that said, you know what, this is so cool that you guys found a way to record the show and put it online on CKUT, because it would have, it makes the world more normal with all that's happening in the confinement and everything. And I thought, yeah, you know what, that is totally true. The more you can actually continue as if nothing is happening. And it's giving us a new direction also, because more and more we're thinking, well, why do we have to go into the studio now? We're recording this it's a Sunday morning. We got to wake up on Sunday, Sheldon's got to get in his car, come to Montreal. I got to take the subway, go downtown. Sometimes the weather in the winter time, especially, the weather's bad. And doing this is now like, yeah, maybe we could, can we do this like this all the time? Maybe it's better off, and nobody has to go anywhere. We do it, via Skype. So we see each other and can interact, because people that don't know it, in a studio, when you're recording a program, extremely important for everybody to see each other. That's how the conversation can go. When you talk to somebody, especially if you're more than, two people in the studio, it's fun to have everybody and see everybody, because it kind of gives you a hint of where to kick in or say something, or so we do it via Skype, and it works fine, and it's a lot of fun, actually. So anyways, the International Radio Report, if you've never listened, take a listen. You might find it interesting and be hooked and listen every week. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard. In the chat room, Joseph Filipkowski Jr. Hello there. Bobby Burgess, WA5107SWL in Morgan City, Louisiana. Hope everything's all right and that you didn't have too much problem with the hurricane. Tom DXer, WPE2QED. Nice to have you here from the lower Hudson Valley, New York. What else? Rob, nice to have you on board from Phoenix, Arizona. Scott Cranston from sunny Massachusetts. Justin Andrews, nice to have you on board from Manchester. Artist Allacrafter's Kitchen, nice to have you on board from Massachusetts. We have a lot of Massachusetts people here. Shady Pyro 90, nice to have you on board from British Columbia. Jeff Williams, nice to have you here from Cornwall. And yeah, everything's great. Actually, he's here. He is here. I'm just going to do a little, show you guys who's here. So, yep, we have Paul the cat in the house. He's sleeping right there across the room in one of my chairs. So he's dreaming of you guys. René Charbonnier, nice to have you on board from the Netherlands. James Johnson, nice to have you here from Chicago. And he says, extremely hot in Chicago, kicking back with a ice cold Moon Man from New Glarus Brewery in Wisconsin. Cool. Well, I've got vodka and cranberry juice. So cheers, everybody. PLF Radio, bonjour et bienvenue de la France. C'est un énorme plaisir, comme toujours, de t'avoir parmi nous. Nice to have you here. SoCal, nice to have you here from San Diego. Matambale, nice to have you on board, my friend. From Colorado. Just going to try to find where I was. Okay. I hate this. The chat goes smooth, then it jumps to the end sometimes without me wanting it. What else do we have? Scott Cranston just opened a can of Jack's Abbey shipping out of Boston. Cool. Fernando Cano, nice to have you on board. And what question do you have about the RSPDX? Please ask. Joe, nice to have you here from humid Chicago area. Here it's cool, actually. It's a little warmer today. It's 23 outside, so we're in the lower 70s. But it's definitely cooler. We're in a different temperature area now. And actually, last night I was outside in the back with the radios, and I can tell you one thing. I think it was about 9 p.m. and it was like getting too cold. We had temperatures drop in the 50s this week. That hasn't happened in a while. And it's a welcome change because I was getting darn tired of the really hot weather. So this is just perfect. But it does give us a feel of the fall coming up. And not just that, I was looking at a maple tree in the backyard. And I noticed that one of the branches is starting to have red leaves on it. So that's a sure sign that, we're getting into the fall now. We're getting into that area where things are going to get cooler. But we still have, usually September in Montreal is pretty beautiful. And in the recent years, September has been, in general, much more warm than in the past. So it's still kind of summer-like, David KJ4CMY, nice to have you on board with a raspberry lemonade. I like to taste that. And then add vodka to it. Joe Tyson, nice to have you on board from North Carolina, KM4WRQ. Brawler from Arkansas, nice to have you here. Steve Miller from Arizona. XN80Xer, Keegan, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. Lots of Arkansas also. Bob, nice to have you here from Ohio. We have Canadian Radio TV guy. Nice to have you on board. And says, so from the lake, leaving sometime this weekend. Lots of activity on 41 meters. Hurricane Watch Net Wednesday. Hope everybody is staying safe. Al Mason, nice to have you here. Speaking of VHF, UHF, just got an ADSB receiving working. Yeah, okay, enough of that. Cool. That is cool. Always fun. John Pickney, nice to have you on board from Oak Hill, Virginia, W3XWT. Ricardo Silva, nice to have you on board from Portugal. Kamagzi76, link to the other channel. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to wait if anybody else did it before, but I'm going to link to it. Bobby Burgess, you should do satellite tracking with your RTL SDR and SDR Sharp with GPredict. Yeah, no, it works fine with other things. And honestly, everything can be controlled. You can control the if you want, you can control the Doppler shift and SDR and everything. But as examples of other things that can be used, yes, that could be fun to make some videos. Daniel, nice to have you here from Dublin, Ireland. William Helms from Florida, nice to have you on board. Old Radio Man, nice to have you on board from Northeast Tennessee. And we have Trond from Norway, nice to have you here. Alme Sammons Electrical Storms. Roger Schultz, KE4BFG. Nice to have you on board, my friend. And thank you very much for the nice comments. PLF Radio, well, you remind us your VHF live show on a Sunday on Twitter. I'm just afraid I will forget it. Yeah, I'll post it on Twitter, absolutely, for about an hour. So the once again, the channel is. Let me just give you guys the link. The channel is official Oh, no, this is here. The official VHF UHF channel. So here you see when the name, when you go into URL, you could do youtube.com/official SWL channel, and it brings you here. On that one, you can go and type youtube.com/official VHF UHF channel, and it's going to bring you there. But I'm going to post the link to it. There we go. And this is, I'm trying to reactivate slowly that channel. I know that it's a little slow, but so here is the channel link. And so this is where it's going to happen at 20 hours UTC. 20 hours UTC. Estrella Garcia, nice to have you here, Estrella. John Pigney, nice to have you here. Ekaderis, nice to have you on board. Ekaderis says, I don't think Paul the cat accepts bribes. Maybe if it's in food, if it's in cat food and the one that he likes, you'd be surprised. I think he might accept bribes in cat food form. Oh man, Shady Paro 9E says must be a Greek pirate radio party going on in Greece. Keegan says I listened to that show episode somewhere. Brian Penny, nice to have you on board from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. John Pickney, a little bit of news in the U.S. There are discussions beginning here about putting DAB in the 40 to 50 megahertz region, ironically, where FM originally was in the U.S. Any thought north of the 49? Here, there's, in the scale of 1 to 10 of DAB HD radio, right now, it's 0. There's, I know there's a few stations that kind of broadcast kind of HD radio a little bit here in the Montreal market and all. But in general, it's not something that we're talking about. I hear more discussions about it right now from you guys in the US with the FCC and all. But here, it's right now, it's kind of stalled. I don't know. Nothing much happening. Jerry K, nice to have you on board from North Carolina. And it's a vodka cranberry juice that I'm drinking. What else do we have? Well, you know what, Ecadarius, that's kind of it. I have to say that I kind of enjoy listening to the recording on Sunday morning to see if everything is all right. And, taking my morning coffee at home, it's kind of nice because, you got to get up. And when the weather's bad, it's not too bad for me because the subway, in a big snowstorm is unaffected. Although there is a little bit of walk from the station to subway and from here to the subway. But, Sheldon's got to take his car. And, when there's a big snowstorm, it's not necessarily the best thing to do. What else do we have? Xavier Fuertes Diaz, nice to have you here from Spain. Jed Jarotech, nice to have you on board. Tell us about that sharp-looking globe. Well, it's a Christmas present that I got last year, and it is beautiful, really a beautiful little globe. And actually, I was with a friend, and I'm not the guy that does a lot of. I never ask for Christmas presents. And it's kind of a we don't talk about it. It's like, look, I'm not going to make Christmas presents. Don't make some for me. Just seeing each other is enough, and of course, every year we say that. And every year, what do? You end up buying a Christmas present. And so, you get into the spirit and it's like, yeah, okay, I got to buy something. So we were, I was with a friend and we were walking downtown, and in one of the store windows, we saw this globe and I thought it was nice, and that person immediately said, oh, that would be nice. When you do your live shows with radio, that would be beautiful. I was like, yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe one day I'll come back and check it out, And Behold, on Christmas, it appeared magically under the Christmas tree. So it's a very nice globe, honestly. Very, very beautiful. Madam Bally says, Hecadarius says it's a starter stream, Paul the Cat. Yep. And Madam Bally says, you can see that producing the show just wears Paul out. Absolutely. 45 unit. Nice to have you here. Says, Paul is a cool cat, even on a hot day. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. And it was just so funny because he was meowing so that I left. I was on that chair doing the recording of International Radio Report. And he came in and started meowing. And I thought he wanted food. No, he didn't want food. He wanted my chair. He was like, okay, I wanted my chair. What else do we have? What else do we have? Ron Hicks got the Texan PL 880. Cool. It's a nice radio, honestly. Really a nice radio. Arjun, nice to have you here from Cyprus. Nice to have you on board, my friend. What else do we have? Everybody saying hello to Paul. Alexis Irving, nice to have you here, Alex, in the UK. Ron Hicks, seems like the Texan PL 880 is pretty well built. I expect to work beyond the warranty with the proper care. I've owned, except for one, the Texan PL 680, that the encoder kind of jammed, but was fixable. It's a little stiff, but it works. None of my Texan receivers, and some of them are really like 7-8 years old now, at least. None of them have had problems, and I do use my radios quite a lot. So if you're careful, I think you're going to have that radio for a while. You're going to have it for a long time. And like with every radio, one of the tricks and one of the things I say often, and this is not just a Texan problem, it's a general it's really a general kind of I'm not even in the frame here. I just kicked the camera. And there's a general I didn't even see that I kicked the camera, actually. You just remove the battery when something happens, and just make sure that you leave the batteries out for 24 hours. Sometimes you can reset the radio, but often you'll need to leave the batteries out for 24 hours or so. John Pickney, Paul is showing what happens when you expose a cat to either C-SPAN or a local government access channel. Yeah, waiting in line. That's Paul waiting in line. It's like, okay, I'm going to sleep on it. Call my name when I'm ready. Dandruff microphone is a Maono, Maono, AU04, something like that. It is a microphone I purchased it's a USB microphone purchased on Amazon. Comes with the articulated arm, everything. It's an amazing. I'm very happy with this microphone, honestly. Very amazing for the price. Justin Andrews, nice to have you here. Justin from Manchester. Laura, nice to have you here from Georgia. What else do we have? Rick Satter, nice to have you here. Rick from Milwaukee. So I'm back in frame now. Took time for me to realize. Actually, The reason I didn't realize is because for a while I had another window open, so I wasn't seeing myself because I would have noticed immediately. So what else do we have? Look at there. It's funny. That's funny that Paul the cat is in the chair sleeping. Usually is not in the same room. So is Paul the cat a bodyguard? Oh man, when I look at how he started running after a dog the other day, I was like, wow, okay, pretty crazy, huh? On my good side. So Paul decided to take control. Max says strong. One half of the show is better than none. It could be worse. You could be saying, you turn the camera a little more so that you're totally out of the frame. The show's better like that. Oh man. What else do we have? Keegan says, I have a tree outside the kitchen window looking west. Leaves are green mostly with some red leaves. KX2U radio. Nice to have you here. Put up a Comet CHA250B. Cool. Bob says, is there a website with information on when e-skips are likely to occur on FM TV, and does e-skip happen on shortwave? The best thing, and my trick, I'll give you my trick, honestly. Two things that I do. First of all, the best website to see visually e-skip and if e-skip's happening or not, okay, honestly, is dxmaps.com. So I'm going to put the link into the chat, dxmaps.com. Here you have a world map, and you have options at the top, and I'm going to talk about the options a little bit. So dxmaps.com. When you go there, you have at the top Europe, Africa, North America, South America, and so on, or the full world if you want. And at the left side, you have either map, list, or I keep it in map form all the time. And you have the option of LFHF, which is medium wave and shortwave, and even long wave. And you have VHF and up. This gives you 6 meters and up also. What's nice is that here you can choose your area. So like me, I'll choose North America. I want to see if something's happening on 50 megahertz. You will have a visual on the map of stations and where they contacted each other. I like the visual aspect of the map, and that is cool for that. So you can take a band and see if there's communication coming in on a certain frequency. If you go and you see that on 50 megahertz, there's some activity. Well, you know that in your area, 6 meters open. And of course, if 6 meters open, we're now at 50 megahertz. There's a good chance that even higher frequencies might propagate. So there's a good indication there of sporadic e-skip. One of the things I often use also in searching for sporadic e-skip is the CB band. So I'll go on 27025 and I'll check if there's some CB activity on channel 6 of the CB band of 27025. If there's a lot of stuff happening there, and I hear CBers from the south of the US a lot, I know that this is going to be there must be some sporadic e-skip, especially if there's really no higher solar activity or anything special happening. So that gives you an idea of if it's happening right now, and then you can check out the different bands and even go to the FM radio bands, see if you can hear stations. Kevin Wood, Nova Scotia, nice to have you on board. Nice to have you on board. What else do we have? Kevin Jane Apollo, nice to have you here, my friend. from the Jersey Shore. Tory Boy, nice to have you here. Steepletown MBR7 coming tomorrow. Have you used one? Nope. James Johnson, nice to have you on board from Illinois. NL13851, nice to have you here from the Netherlands. But e-skip, a sporadic e-skip has nothing to do with solar activity. It's very important to understand that. John Pickney is talking about, because when there's a lot of sunspot and a lot of solar activity, yes, you will have openings in the higher frequencies. But when we talk about sporadic e-skip, this is a totally different way of propagation. And it is often linked to very, fronts and lots of thunderstorms going through. It seems that might help actually create patches of ionized layers that help the higher frequency. So sporadic e-skip and FM skip can actually happen at 3 a.m. Because it is not dependent on solar activity. G. Lee, nice to have you here from Fresno, California, WA6120SWL. Mad Radio DXer, nice to have you here. DAB digital radio here in Europe is about 180 to 230 megahertz and also 40 to 50 megahertz. Still used for baby monitors, I think. I know that here I can hear a few baby monitors around the 49 megahertz range. There's still a few of them in the area. I think the cheapest one are still on 49 megahertz, actually. Pretty much the only activity of that type on the 49 megahertz. I haven't heard. I don't even remember the last time I heard a cordless phone on 46 megahertz. Rich Hill, nice to have you here from Syracuse, New York. Randall Kluntz, nice to have you here. 19. I'll just try to get back. So we have. Oh yeah, it's possible that I wasn't in the middle. Actually, I'm not. That's because I was not seeing myself, and I just kind of put it there. I don't know. Didn't look at it. I know you guys wanted me to put it on Paul and just leave it there. Darius used to have a world globe as a kid, also worked as a lamp. Cool. Shitty Pyro 90 says 9730, Voice of Vietnam, signing on in French. Cool. Estrella Garcia, nice to have you here. Levi Nathan, nice to have you on board from Israel. Dr. Sisop says DAB radio available in the US sometime 2023 and HD radio will end. Yeah, but that ending is delayed. I saw a report a few months ago that HD radio, the analog radio signal is going to continue for quite a while, as they had put kind of a deadline on it so that it would be phased out by HD radio and all. But right now, all those plans have kind of gone astray, especially with COVID now. It's like it puts a strain on a lot of the broadcasters with less revenue and all. So it's not time for changing. So all of that is kind of delaying all of that. And here in Canada, they're not even talking about it. Mongoose, nice to have you here from the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Joseph Hickenbaum, nice to have you on board from the San Francisco Bay Area, California. WF7I Homebrew, nice to have you on board. Thank God it's Friday from rural Virginia. He's working on setting up the ham station in the new home. Cool. New setup is always kind of fun, you know? So, Dr. Sisop, WWV and CHU check time. Okay, just give me... I'm going to try to get down a little bit faster in the chat, and I'm going to do a WWV check and not very long. What else do we have? Gary Stewart, nice to have you here, Gary, in the UK. Dan V, nice to have you on board from Ohio. N8WJZ. Ed, WX2R from New Jersey. The Five Youngs, nice to have you here. N2QQE in Elmira, New York. Branson, nice to have you here from the Czech Republic. John Pickney says the cat we had when I was in high school would often join me in the living room in the middle of the night while I was watching, I was TVDXing. In general, inside the home, when he's inside, most of the times, it happens that sometimes he wants to be alone. But I would say in a full day, he pretty much follows me around in the different rooms. One of the things that happens when he's out of the room is sometimes I don't see that he wants to get in the room, because when I do the live show, I close the window. I close the door of the room because it does a few things. It helps in removing a little bit of the echo, and also it removes some of the sounds and the noises that would come off from maybe other rooms or from outside, because I have the doors and windows open, so it's quieter here. So sometimes he might want to get in, but I just don't know it, basically. Ricardo Silva, DXing with the D808 while listening to the show in extreme southwest of Europe. Just got long wave 171 from Morocco. Grateful North African music. Cool. William, did you ever subscribe to or read Popular Communications? I read Popular Communications a lot in the past. What I would do, I never subscribed to them because subscribing to US magazines was kind of a weird thing, and the Canadian dollar and all was kind of complicated sometimes. So what I did is actually I would go downtown, and there was this magazine store, and they had like every magazine that existed. And actually, from what I knew, they were the one providing the magazines to all the other like newsstands around town. And they had Popular Communications, they had Monitoring Times, they had one from the UK also that I don't remember exactly what was the name of it. That one I didn't buy very often. It was extremely expensive. Magazines from the UK typically were very expensive. So, but Popular Communications and Monitoring Times I would get at that place downtown. So I would actually go downtown only for magazines sometimes. I would go downtown, have a lunch, and then I would go to the, my routine for a long time actually was going downtown, having lunch, then going to my favorite record store to get some CDs that I wanted to have for some music. And I would end up after that at that place to get the magazines that I wanted and books, and would then come back home. It was typically kind of my sometimes it was my Friday evening things, but most of the time it was my my Saturday thing when I used to work. I would spend Saturday downtown and do that and get all the stuff that I wanted in the magazines. Redelva65, nice to have you here from New York City. Roger Schultz, when are you going to get your amateur radio license? I have to find some time, I can tell you. I know a lot of you want me to get it, and it's still there on my bucket list. We'll try to check it out for this winter and get it. I'm a very, very busy guy. If you guys would see what I do in 1 week, you would actually wonder how I can actually take time to do a 3-hour show or 2-hour show or whatever. Cheers, everybody. Rufus Newt, nice to have you here from the Ranson Valley, Ontario. Home from work, enjoying a cold brew. Cool. Nice to have everybody here. Andrea DXer says, I use DX Maps as well. Let me just to check on e-skip. So highly recommended to know if there is something happening on the bands. Yeah, and it's fun to have the visuals, honestly. It's fun to see on a map, okay, there's activity around my area. Because you could see it on the clusters. You can use clusters like DX Fun Cluster and so on, and choose 6 meters in there. You can actually tell it, give me 6 meter activity. But you have to look at the physical lists of stations contacting each other and see if there are some in your area. Here, it's it's a fraction of a second. You have a map, and you already see if activity is there or not. So you immediately know, and this is really, really cool. Buddy Weiser, nice to have you here from Glasgow. Shaggy464. Yeah, if 11 meter band, if 11 meters is open, honestly, very often, not always, but very often it goes much higher than just 11 meters. So I use DX Maps along with DX World TV FM skip log. Let me check that out. DX World, I probably have seen that. Yeah, I remember that website, but I haven't checked this in a long time. Need to check it out a little more. But that's a great place to see what's happening. Paul Palinkas, nice to have you here from Seattle. K7PJP. Kamexi76, not related to shortwave, but I remember getting HD TV stations from over 200 miles away due to e-skip. It was really super cool. So yeah, it can be done. Absolutely. Keegan says also posts his logs on the thread on the WTFDA, Worldwide TV FMDX Association forums. I need to try. I have never DX'd FM radio band. Every time I listened to the baby band, what did I just say? The baby band? I was reading Babies Talking 49 megahertz. It pained me. So when I listen to the FM band, I usually do a scan, but I don't do it in the purpose of maybe trying to find DXing. But maybe I should. The problem here, and it is always the same problem, is that there's not a lot of spaces empty. The FM band in Montreal is quite full, and overloading is very difficult. Very difficult. So, you know what was funny, Canadian Radio TV guy, is I would listen in to those baby monitors for a very specific thing. I was often listening to those monitors because I wanted to know how far away I was receiving them. So if they were talking or something, I would try to figure out by the voice, what neighbor is that? Or if they, in some cases, it was like they would order a pizza or something, and I would hear that in the address on the baby monitor, which would give me a hint. It's like, oh, so they have a baby monitor there. Or sometimes noises. Sometimes, like I remember once being in the backyard with my scan, listening to a super powerful one, and wondering where it was. And then I saw somebody close the door, and I heard the door close in the baby monitor, and you're like, oh, it's them. Because they're not allowed to hear on a baby monitor, honestly. But they're super. I remember telling a lot of my friends, that had children, be careful. Buy the baby monitors that are encrypted, the spread spectrum ones, because a baby monitor is an open mic in your home, and people can actually listen in. I remember a friend of mine using a wireless camera for security. And I told him once, I said, you should buy the encrypted ones. I said, why? And I had demonstrated how you could see his video just using a scanner, connected to a TV. Just by the analog signal, you could actually get a picture. Jim F., nice to have you here from Rhode Island. WF7I Homebrew, I want to put in a plug for the Facebook group. It's a great companion for late night tuning around and sharing with others. Really enjoying it as I try some new antennas here. Yeah, the Facebook group is fun, I have to say. And I like to go in the Facebook group and share what I'm listening to at the same time. Sometimes I see you guys post something, I try it here. Like last night was fun. I listened to that station in Trinidad. Man, that guy's station looked really deaf because he was calling CQ all the time. And there was tons of station calling him back, and he would not reply to most of them. But I remember he actually had said last night that there was a lot of noise in this area. So that's possible. That's possible. Jill takes a brush can, brushes the cat air out of the microphone. I mean, if you have a cat, one of the things you notice immediately is your air conditioning. You got to clean that filter really often because there's cat air in there all the time. It's just crazy. Maybe it's Shortwave magazine. Maybe it's Shortwave magazine. So you know what? It's I think it is. I'm trying to figure out, but I think it was Shortwave magazine from the UK, John Pickney. I think you are right there. I remember seeing radio. I'm getting mixed up now. I'm not even sure. Ed WX2R says radio user from the UK. Man, I'm trying to. I think from what I remember, I think Shortwave magazine from the UK is what it was. But it was like, the price on it was in British pounds, and it was like, it would cost me like $14 to get a magazine that had, barely 70 or 80 pages. And I thought $14 every month for just one magazine was a lot. Popcom and Monitoring Times were, I don't know, $5 or $6 each. That was much more reasonable. But that wasn't just the case of that magazine. When I started out playing guitar, one of the best guitar magazines that I would purchase was from the UK. And it came with a CD with backing tracks of different songs. And I remember it cost like 25 Canadian dollars every month to get that magazine. It was super expensive, but I would buy it because it was the best guitar magazine around. Mark Cancellara, nice to have you on board. Can SDRs be used for shortwave and VHF, UHF? Do some do all the frequencies? Well, like the SDR play here, the RSPDX that's running here, even the RSP1A that I can show you guys here. SDR play RSP1A. That is a wideband receiver. It goes from way down like 10 kilohertz or something, or 100 kilohertz. And you can tune up to 2000 megahertz VHF, UHF. But you will need antennas for that range, because you need different antennas depending on where you're listening to. What I like at the RSPDX is that you can plug in more than one antenna. So I've got one for VHF on it, one for shortwave. I just switch the antennas depending on what I listen to. Crossley Fiver, nice to have you on board from El Paso. I can also say that this antenna box better for upper VHF. We're looking to buying. Okay. As we have, let me just go down. Crossley Fiber K180 WLA active loop broadband receiving antenna for SDR radio. Yeah, if you're not in a high noise environment, like a high RFI FM station environment, it might work well. But the K180 WLA here is almost, not totally where it's placed right now. It somewhat works, but it's almost impossible to use on shortwave because it's overloaded by FM stations. But on the VHF range, I'm pleasantly surprised. It's not a total waste. But I suspect that if you live in a quiet environment, it could be very, very interesting. Dr. Sisop picking up Bermuda on 1450 AM. Cool. Jerry DX, nice to have you here. Dr. Sisop, long wave def. Here I've got the local beacons for the airport, and that's pretty much it. Next Radio DXer, Mad Radio DXer says, by the way, today was E-Skip on FM band in Europe, so the season is still active. Cool. Eric Cottrell, nice to have you on board. Busy afternoon. That's all right. For those that are joined late, here's the star of the show. And I'll put the camera back. So the star of the show is there. There we go. Camera back to normal. Not to do the same mistake I did earlier. Dr. Sisop has 5:30 a.m. from Cuba, starting to come in. There's definitely a change in propagation with where we are. I mean, on Tuesday, we're going to be September 1st. Incredible when you think about it. I can't even believe that will be September in just a few days. It does show outside with the weather and the angle of the sun, but it is really starting to show on the shortwave propagation. At night, I'm losing Radio New Zealand around 04 UT. The last hour that they're using, 13840, it's fading out now, which was not the case in, a month ago. So slowly I'm losing my Radio New Zealand evening broadcast for summer. Eric Cottrell, DX cluster plugin for SDRNO can show ham band DX activity, including 6 meters. I really need to check out the plugins. There's going to be a lot of fun. Samuel, any suggestions on a modern handheld and cheap radio that can pick up AM, single sideband, and not have it an older product to where I've got to hunt them down looking for new and mass-produced Texan receivers? Like a Texan PL660 is easy to find online. You even have it on Amazon, and it does AM and single sideband, and it's a great radio, not too expensive. A whole live show on baby monitor tracking. Yeah. Well, maybe if Joseph Filipkowski is not such an asshole, I would answer emails. That's all I got to say. Nothing else. What else do we say? Madrid DXer, just imagine baby monitor e-skip. Oh man, baby monitor e-skip. You're getting a baby monitor from from Mexico. Oh, somebody in Spanish, and and you don't realize it. It's like somebody in Spanish. Who's Spanish around here? Actually, there are quite a few, but just it's just crazy. Personal MP3 FM transmitter was received with Spurdic E. Everything is possible. Everything is possible with a transmitter, whatever power it is. If it's there and it has a good enough antenna and everything, boy, it's surprising how little you actually need in power to actually make it far away. DH, nice to have you on board. We're at 3:30. Nice to have you here. Michael Woods, nice to have you on board from Australia on Saturday morning. What else do we have? What else do we have? Big Screen TV. Nice to have you here from the UK, M0WKW. Yeah, I think it was Shortwave magazine, but I remember seeing Radio User, if I'm not, there's really nothing on $25 for SSB, Samuel. You will have to at least go to, I don't think you will have anything below maybe $80 that will have single sideband, unless you buy a used receiver. But I'll give you the name. Just go on Amazon or eBay, and Texan PL660 is one. You can check out also if you can have a good price on the XH Data D808. These are two radios that are really good that have single sideband, but they're not $25. Tony Xer, how do you have your long wire connected to your radios? Also, did you use a 921 Unun with it? So my long wire, right now, I'm using a sloper, which goes into a box that has a 921 Unun. Absolutely. And that is a IN-fed commercial antenna from Europe. It's somebody that had sent me this as a gift for an antenna. Right now, it's installed as a sloper, and it has on it, it's very high quality. It has a metal box with the SO239, so you have a PL259 connector screwed to it. I have the coaxial cable coming in from the back up to my office here. And at the other end, I've got an SMA30. I now have an SMA30 plug on it. And if I need to put it on other radios like the FT450 or my ICOM, I purchased adapters that I can use for the SO239 connector. Before I had that, what I would do is I would not have any thing in between. What I would do is I would have, say, 80 feet of wire in the back. It would be fed to the center connector of the coax, and the outer shield of the coax I would try to ground the best I can. Most of the time, I would simply clip it to the metal shed in the backyard. And that seemed to work okay to do reception of stations. Man of means. What else do we have? Simon Templar, nice to have you here. What else do we have? So soft, fuzzy, and furry. Hello there, Mr. SDR Play. SDR Play software-defined radio receiver. Thanks to have you here. I guess that's the best place if you have questions for any RSP devices. Man of Means has a Kenwood TS590S. There is going to be 50 in October. Well, not that far off. I'm 51. I'll be 52 in March. Time sure flies. Seems like yesterday I was only 20. Mr. Lucky Train, nice to have you on board from Southeast Pennsylvania. Currently having a gully washer of a thunderstorm. Oh, really? Wow. Alberto Simmons Casanova, nice to have you here. Can you show the configuration of a shortwave antenna? I need to set up one for my Texan 660. Yeah. The best is just start by putting a wire outside. Nothing complicated. And slowly work out. But I know that there's a lot of different ways to bring in the antenna. The problem is noise, and that's always our biggest enemy right now. Rohan, Grenig G2, user from India. Nice to have you here, my friend from India. What else do we have? David in Barcelona, Spain. Nice to have you here, my friend. And why do you need 250 radios? Mr. Lucky Train, would you or any of your listeners know if all the issues of popular communications and monitoring times are available in digital format? Yes, they are, Mr. Lucky Train. Simply go to this website that is called worldradiohistory.com. And here, not only you'll have that, but you'll have a really amazing list of receivers online. But go here, and there's an alphabetical list. You can also search for the magazines, but every single issue of Popular Communications and every single issue of Monitoring Times are there in PDF. I don't have it here. I actually purchased a new tablet because I like reading a book or a magazine on a tablet, not on a PC. And I wanted to have something to read on the tablet. So I purchased a new tablet on Amazon a couple of weeks ago. And I am going to, and I'm happy because I'm downloading these magazines. And it's fun to look at the older times. Pretty crazy. So they're all available there. And you'll have a lot more. There's a lot more radio magazines and electronics magazines and stuff there. Some dating back to the 1920s, 30s. Just crazy to look at those. Max That's Wrong wants a bag full of 250 radios. Imagine, doing a contest. Today, if you enter our contest, you'll win a bag of 250 different shortwave radios. Wow, 250. There has to be some crap radios in there. Unless they're really rich and they can actually afford to send a lot of the, high-end receivers in the bag. Larry Stevens, nice to have you here from Newark, Ohio, with thunderstorms. Ricardo Silva says, talking of long wave, or what's left of it, in the southwest of Europe, I still get Radio France International and MIDI 1 from Morocco. What else do we have? What else do we have? There's all sorts of delays. There's delays everywhere. I ordered stuff from the US and they're not getting here. It's like delays are everywhere. Nick, nice to have you here. K9XN from Northwest Indiana. What else do we have? Mark Cancellara says, once back in the 80s, I accidentally tuned into a baby monitor when tuning our TV. My mom was like saying, leave it on. My mom, when I had my first scanner radio, I was listening to the police, local police in Montreal, and the first one didn't have a UHF high band. Didn't go to 800 megahertz. It had one of those scanners that ended at 512 megahertz. So I programmed, the local police and the cordless phone frequencies, which were very active back then. When I got my new scanner, which was a Pro 43 that had 800 megahertz, I didn't use the other one much. And I remember my mom saying, at night when there's nothing on TV, can I borrow the scanner? Can you just put it easy so that I can just turn it on and listen to the cordless phones on the neighbors and the police? And I remember I had programmed the channels just so it was the simplest possible. And I'd tell her, you just turn on and you see there's a little number blinking, says 1. That is cordless phones. If you want the police, you press 2, you'll see it blinking. And you can press 1 to remove the 1, and you'll have only the police. And if you want to have both of them, just leave 1 and 2 on the display, and you'll have cordless phones and the police. And I remember she would spend evenings listening to the police sometimes, or spend evenings. I remember waking up in the middle of the night to go pee, and passing by the bedroom of my mom's bedroom, and through the door I could hear the police. The scanner was on with some police communications. And I remember I was going to pee. I would go back in my room, and I would think, "Oh, Mom ain't sleeping, listening to the police." It was just funny. But and when she moved to an old folks home in the early 2000, I gave her the Pro 43 because I had other scanners after that. I gave her the Pro 43 and said, "Look, you can listen to analog cell phones." It's like, and I gave it before that, and I said, "Look, you can listen to analog cell phones. You can listen to cordless phones." There was less of those, but there was a lot of analog cell phones and the cops, and she would listen to that all night. And when she died, I remember we were cleaning out the room, and I looked and I said, "Oh, the Pro 43 scanner's here." So it's kind of funny because when I take my Pro 43 scanner, part of it is kind of, I'm thinking of my mom listening to the police or to cordless phones and stuff with that. And it was just so funny. I remember when she moved and she was listening to cordless phones and having there was one neighbor that was always ranting at everything. I would go there, and sometimes I would go and see her, and she would tell me, "Oh, I was listening to that old lady that rants all the time." Oh man. Len Ritchie is a Canadian shortwave listener with a unique channel for radio listeners. I think it's an educational channel. Thanks to all for your input. KO4DJT. Ecadarius, wouldn't it be funny if Paul the cat came to the microphone and started purring very loud? Gary Stevenson says, antenna have the best you can buy or make. Your radio will work great. Without a great antenna, you will have a hard time hearing anything. Yeah, but sometimes you need to move to other places also. But of course, the radio is as good as the antenna can be. But you don't need to. I'm in the club of you don't need to spend a lot of money for an antenna. And for people that don't have too much noise, a wire can do miracles. It's really, really crazy. Radio can really do miracles. Hey, John, happy Friday. John Pickney is back from the bank. You want to get some money to buy a radio? Branson, what do you think of the Alanco DXR8 on shortwave? What I've read is that it is a good performer. It's not totally up to par with really good tabletops, but most of the reviews and most of what I've read on it was that it's a very good radio still. The rant that I get from people that have used it is how jam-packed the buttons are, which means if you got big hands, big fingers, it's kind of a little hard sometimes to really go and tune in. And the fact that it doesn't come with a power supply. And the DXR8 is now it's now discontinued, by the way. So that will be more and more difficult to find. They are discontinued because of COVID. They can't find parts to actually build some of them. Probably mixed in with the fact that maybe they don't sell as much as they used to. David says, listening to Chaîne 3 from Algeria on longwave 252 right now. Booming signal and easy copy on his Sony Shortwave 11. Just by my side here. They're playing 80s hits right now. Very cool. Nice. Denis Allard, salut, bienvenue. Jill, what's your take on the PL990 first run selling for $500 US on AliExpress? Well, Universal Radio quotes the upcoming Ethon Satellite Elite for $40 and $49. Is rarity driving up the price? Their radios on their own, they are what we call, they're a different take. They're what we call a high-end portable. So they technically are or should be better than an average $100 portable. That said, those $100 portables today are darn good. They do have more features. I still think the PL990 is way too expensive at that price. I, for one, would not get one at that price. Unless somebody offers to help pay for it or something, but I would not pay $500 for a PL990. $500, you have other choices that are better out there. And PL990 is expensive for what it is. I think it's expensive for several reasons. First of all, prices have gone up for a lot of things right now. I was looking at the PL600, which I purchased for about 75 Canadian dollars. And when the PL600 arrived, that's 8 years ago, I was surprised that a 75 Canadian dollar radio could do all of that. I saw the lowest price of a PL600 right now at like 135, 140. That's kind of almost not very far from double the price. It's pretty surprising. But there's a lot of things, of course, in play here because the Canadian dollar is way down compared to when I purchased it. So that ups the price here in Canada. I mean, 500. It was on. There's a website that I went to that had all the prices in Canadian. The PL990 shipped to Canada was 648 Canadian dollars, and you got to count on the fact that a radio at that price, you're going to have to pay the taxes once it actually gets here. So at home, when you get it, a radio of that price, you're going to have to pay $70, $80 for the post office to get it, because you got to pay the taxes. They are different kinds of radios, that's for sure. The prices are up, but I don't think they can sell that many of those. Honestly, I don't want to be negative, but I think that a $500 radio, not a lot of people are going to buy that. And so they're maybe anticipating that maybe they're going to do a production run, but they're basing the price also on how much money can we make if we sell that amount of these. And that means that we might need to sell them. They're going to be more expensive because they don't produce enough to lower the price, because everything goes like that. The more you can make and sell, the lower the price you'll be able to get on everything you need to build them. So I think that also is maybe in there. I've seen a lot of people kind of impressed with the PL990, and that's the first run because they're still not in production. And by the way, here in North America, when they do produce them, the export version is the PL990X. There's an X next to it. That will be the export version. Some are impressed, but I've seen many comments of people that have the first run at least and say it's good, but it's not $500 US good. John Pickney says, I recall 2 thunderstorms-related E-skip situations. One involved devastating flooding in Rapid City, South Dakota, and I was getting KDLO3 in Virginia. There's another phenomena also that happens that's important, is that when there are fronts, that go through, and temperature drops, or the other way around, maybe it's a warm front, there's a phenomena called temperature inversion. And temperature inversion also acts as a very interesting medium of propagation for VHF signals. And we see it sometimes on 2 meters. I remember one time a cold front came through here in southern Quebec. I was listening to when I was really, really into scanner radios in the 90s. I was listening to a local repeater here. That repeater, which usually covers like 50 miles-ish, stations were actually checking in the net 250 miles away, as they were local people here. It was totally crazy. And that had to do with not sporadic or E-skip. It had to do with a temperature inversion. It traps the signals in layers of the atmosphere. And it was crazy. But the difference, if you want to know the difference between an E-skip signal on VHF and anything that is tropo and anything that has to do with temperature inversions, E-skip fades in and out like a shortwave signal. So the station comes in and fades out and comes back and so on, just like a shortwave station. In tropo, or in cases where it's temperature inversions, the signal will be super stable, and it can stay like that for a few minutes to a few hours. And there's no fading, there's no changes. When it fades out, it's just over. It's just that conditions are not there anymore. John, do you have a battery backup system in case of power outages? And if so, what? So I've got 2 12-volt lead acid batteries that are rated at something like 12.5 amp hour. So I've got 2 of those that I try to keep charged as much as possible. Those will run, say, my ICOM ICRD 500 for many hours if I want to. I don't have a backup as much as I used to because several things have changed. Before I would, when I moved here, I would run. I didn't have a laptop. I would run on a desktop PC, and I had a desktop receiver. So I had some backups for all of that to run a certain time. What happened is when I started getting laptops, like right now, my laptop in most conditions has quite a few hours of battery. I've got my smartphones. I've got my old S9, my new S20. They have long battery life, so if I need internet access, I'll have a lot of battery life here. And I have got chargers for these, so I've got 2 or 3 different battery packs that I can run this for many days, actually. So what happens is it all comes down to what I want to run, and what I want to do is the power outage. So here, power outages they don't happen very often, and they never happen much more than maybe a couple of hours. So that aspect, I don't need that much protection because a couple of hours, my laptop is going to run. My laptop is going to run on the internet through my phone, and if I want to have shortwave, I can run the RSPDX on the laptop for a couple of hours. And I can use the lead acid batteries and run the ICOM instead as a desktop receiver. I got so many portables, and I've got 150 batteries. So I would have enough batteries and portables to run probably for weeks on a lot of the radios. I always have packs of AA batteries, alkaline. I have a lot of rechargeables, but I always have a pack of 64 AA alkalines. Because say there's a power outage, okay, the rechargeables, I won't be able to recharge them. So I will compensate by using AA batteries instead. So these are things that, are possible. It's not impossible we get a power outage that's very long. I mean, here in the past, it happened, the ice storm of in 98. I don't know here. I was not living here. I was lucky. I was in the part of Montreal where I didn't have electricity for maybe 20 hours max. But some people were having, and I didn't have powers for weeks. Now, I never, here in a big city like Montreal, I never lived through that. And I know that Hydro-Quebec has done a lot of work in making sure that if something like that ever happens, there would be, it's more difficult to bring down the grid. So I'm not prepared for 3 weeks without power, but I am prepared for a few days without power easily. Sweet Pea Jackson, where in Canada? Canada's pretty big. Nice to have you here. And you're a pirate. Aha, that's why you're not saying where. So we're going to have to monitor 6925 and see if that person from somewhere in the universe is eventually online. Tollsbrought TV, nice to have you here. Erica Trell says, hopefully the ICOM IC7L5 will be shipped to the US soon. Okay, 508 Canadian. It's still too much money. I would not spend more than 200 and something for that. Put it at 249. I'll seriously think about buying one. $508. I got other things to buy before that. Mr. Licky Train, thanks for the link. The link, when show's over, I'm going there to peruse it and start downloading. You'll have all of that for sure. I purchased. Well, man, man, it's a cheap tablet. Vankio, something like that. Vankio V, something that it sounds like Vankio. There's a V and there's a K. I think it's Vankio or something like that. It's a 9-inch tablet. It's a cheap tablet. Didn't want to have a lot of power on it because it was really just for reading magazines. I don't want to do anything else with it. You know. Steve Miller says, my mother was the same with her scanners and hard bell, coast to coast late night radio. Oh man, Kid Arias, I do remember. I remember not knowing that React team existed, and when I got my Navajo TRC 432, I had emergency. There's a kind of like a direct link. There's a button that you switch, and it gives you 9 or 19, channel 9 or channel 19 directly, without having to turn the dial and go to channel 9. And I was like, why does it say that channel 9 is for emergencies? So I go on channel 9 one day and say, hello, anybody there? And somebody answers from React, and it's like, yes, this is the emergency. Anything wrong? And it's like, wow, there's really people listening in on this channel for that. But I don't know. This still exists somewhere in North America? Yeah, David, KJ4CMY, cheap portable. The Radiwell R108 is superb, absolutely. Big screen TV, yep. XH Data D808 is amazing. Of course, this is an RSP DX that you see here with SDR Uno 1.4 running. What else do we have? I don't think it's replacing it, Max S-Strong. I think they'll have both side by side. I don't think it is necessarily replacing it. 880 has been there for a while now. Robert Vinet, nice to have you here. I've had the Sony ICF Shortwave 7600 JR for about 12 years. Wondering if it's worth upgrading. Honestly, if it works well, the only thing that you get into a new radio is you'll get a new radio. But a Sony ICF Shortwave 7600 is a great radio, and I don't think you will have much better or anything really better in getting a new one. It's really why it's really because you want to have something new and more modern. Honestly, nothing much more than that. Dijon, nice to have you here. I was working on my Saba Tube radio, which I picked up last Friday. Still a lot of caps to change in that radio. But once you do, you will you'll be happy when that thing turns on and works. Alberto Simmons says, as I said, I'm using L-shaped wire antenna with the coax attached to the center. and the outside attached to a pipe pull where both ends of the wire converge, but I'm getting a lot of noise even. Yeah, wire antenna are bad for the noise, unfortunately. Wire antennas are, unfortunately, prone to noise if your environment is very noisy. So that is something that, unfortunately, the only thing that might fix that is to get some other type of antenna. If it's extremely noisy, and this is also something that we don't talk too much about, because we talk about noise. But what is exactly the definition of noisy is very different from you and me and any other in the chat room. What a lot of people will feel is noisy, I might say that's not noisy. That's actually pretty good. And of course, somebody else will look at at it and say, "Oh man, that is very noisy compared to what it could be." So noise is very different from one radio to the other, and depending on where we live. But if it's really noisy to the point where it prevents you from listening to most broadcasts on shortwave, the only other thing that might be an idea is to get a loop like the MLA30. That is probably your best chance of lowering the noise if it's not going somewhere else, honestly. John Pinckney is getting ready to go to Nevada soon, taking a Sony 7600 JR and new portable DTV-DX system. Cool. Gonna have fun with that. Dijon says power outages are very rare here because most electrical lines are buried in the earth. That's power outage 2013. And here the power outage outside of the city is more frequent because all the wires are on outside on wooden poles everywhere, and where it's very wooded, all the wooded areas, it's very common that they get power outages when there's high winds or really bad thunderstorms or ice storms in the winter. But in the city here, it's not something that happens very often. The last time we had a power outage here is very simple. A car ran through the pole at the end of the street. So the power is off the time that they changed the pole. And that was it, Nothing on 6925 here either. At all. Not even a little blip of anything. With 1 watt, you're not going to do a lot unless you have a really amazing antenna. What else do we have? Ron Hicks, if you could cryogenically cool the PL880 with liquid helium, maybe if you super cooled it, then everything in the radio becomes superconductors. Well, here is not necessarily things about weather radio, but I do have a Uniden weather radio. I've got this little fella here that I received a couple of weeks ago, the Reticus PR15. This does not cover shortwave, but it is an AM/FM radio and has it has a weather band. It does have weather band. It has the NOAA weather stations on it. That I only purchased this for 2 reasons. It was cheap, like $15, and it had AM/FM. It's a very small portable, fits shirt pocket, And I had a weather band extra. Was like, oh, that's weather band too. Could be a useful little radio to have around. And from what I've read, the batteries last forever in here, so we'll see that and see how it performs. But cute little portable Reticus PR15 on FM. It's a piece of crap. On medium wave, it's okay, but it does work with the weather stations, and that's okay. I mean, for $15, nah, it's okay. What else do we have? Canadian radio TV guy built a loop antenna out here out of the lake for shortwave and found it works pretty good on 31 meter band. Keep forgetting to take it down to the beach in the evening and do a full test. Belvines says, thanks for the response. My ego doesn't need shiny new things. I'll stick with the little Sony. Yeah, the only real move would be to either move to a SDR, a software-defined radio, if you want to use a computer and have a waterfall, which is great. That'd be a step up because the waterfall and the way this works makes it amazing. It has a wideband receive, so like the entry-level RSP-1A, for example, from SDR Play would be a great one. So that would be a move up. And the only other move up would, maybe get a decent tabletop model. But apart from that, if we talk mostly of a portable radio, there's not much of a step up in moving from a Sony ICF 7600 to pretty much anything else. Clark Gilson, nice to have you here in Wisconsin. KB9 is JD. Alberto Simmons, what other option do you recommend that I could do for all I get that I can clearly hear is Cuba or BBC, sometimes China? Yeah, you got to first understand how, hopefully you're listening in to the shortwave bands at the proper times of day to hear as much signals as possible. The other thing is a loop, MLA 30. That would be your best bet. And it's not super, it's not very expensive. So it's not, you don't lose a lot of money if it doesn't really work much. Dejan says, on one VCR, I found a commercial for a car dealership, which is not far from here and still exists today. It was crazy to see how it looked back then. Hey, I was listening. I have a Panasonic VCR just there, and I was listening to, I was watching a movie that I recorded, a James Bond movie I recorded for Your Eyes Only, like in 1984 or something. And I was fascinated by the ads in between, that were in between. And all the commercials, it was just so amazing. I had recorded that on a CBS station here in Burlington, Vermont. And one of the commercials was a sales car, a dealer, and the guy had like huge hair and looked like a guy from the end of the 70s. I looked at it, and the first thing that came to mind when I saw the ad was, wow, it looks like Dukes of Hazzard trying to sell trucks. Oh, man. And there are so many commercials. I was like, oh, God. Some of them were so bad. I'm like, wow, do we have bad commercials like that today also? Crazy. That is crazy. Mr. Lucky Train, in your opinion, Shell, is there a significant increase in performance or added features to justify upgrading from the 880 to the 990? There are new features. There are quite a few things. I know there's an MP3 player recorder. Sound quality is supposed to be top notch. with powerful amplifier and speaker, and the dynamic range of the receiver seems to be, where it could beat. And that's my opinion. I haven't tested it. I've seen it a little bit on a couple of videos. I've seen a few things. I looked at the specs. Where it could beat other portables would be if you use that with a big outdoor antenna. From the specs, the specifications they give, it's halfway between a tabletop and a portable in portable form, which means if it's well designed, actually, if you have an outdoor antenna that overloads all your radios, that 990 maybe could be better. But that said, nobody's tested that yet. We don't really know. Because the problem with radios, like everything, and even a computer that you want to buy, what's written with the specs and the real world performance is two things that are extremely different. That could be a possibility of where it's better. And of course, with the MP3 playback and record functionality, stuff like that, it plays the SD card recording and playbacks plays like tons of different audio files. But that it pretty much stops there. I can't see much more in moving from an 880 to a 990 necessarily. That said, not tested it and very limited info yet. It's difficult and I can't really say anything about it. But definitely, it's going to be worth checking out. Charles Ethan, nice to have you here from Louisville, Kentucky. What else do we have? Matambale, 13840, Radio New Zealand, very faint. And ups against 13845, which is actually WWCR. Mickey Dalmage, nice to have you here from Sherwood Park, Alberta, Canada. Nice to have you on board. Steve King's getting Radio New Zealand, strong in Australia, 13840. Dr. Sisop says Dukes of Hazzard is returning to TV over-the-air antenna TV. Mountain Valley has 15370 Radio Havana, Cuba. Huge signal, 20 over S9 with a respectable amount of hum and distortion. That's Radio Havana, Cuba for you. Dejan says, one cassette, there was an ID of the Serbian RTS station. Must have been recorded via analog satellite. Man. I have two VCRs that still work, VHS. I've got the Panasonic that I purchased in 2000 when I moved here. And I still have an old Zenith that's there with the crap. That is from 1984 and it still works. It weighs a ton, but it still darn works. And from 1984, 83, that thing cost like $1,000 at the time. I remember. Pretty crazy, eh? Pretty crazy. So both of them work. What is mostly the problem I noticed is that because they haven't they haven't been used in a very long time. Typically, that Panasonic had not worked for maybe 7 or 8 years. And the Zenith had not worked in more than 10 years. The difficult part was getting them to work again. I don't know if it's the grease. There's also the straps inside that might have kind of deformed because they stayed too long in the same position. The mechanism, not moved in such a long time. At first, the only thing they were doing actually is the Panasonic. I would turn it on, it started doing weird noises, and it would shut back down. And the Zenith also did the same thing. And I did that a dozen times. And after doing it quite a while, maybe a dozen times, like I said, it suddenly it stayed on, and it didn't make those weird noise anymore. It's as if something that was kind of not working right suddenly started working again. Maybe also, the grease, maybe the fact that things are moving, the grease kind of moved a little bit and started lubricating everything better. Then was the insert a cassette in it and have it work part, which also was a difficult task, because I would push the cassette in and it would actually spew it back out every time. And I did that once again, maybe a dozen times. And then I pushed it in once and it stayed in. I pressed the play button and I actually started playing. And I thought, okay, it needs to get back into working order. So you got to give it time. And at first it was a little harsh, but after, I've got maybe 8 or 9 6-hour 80s music videos, cassettes. And that is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see those cassettes recorded from Much Music. And even before the music stations, there was, music videos on local channels. And I wanted to, these are what I wanted to see. I didn't care about the movies and stuff that I recorded. And I also wanted to see myself, because I had done a small movie with friends in French class, and when I was 16 years old. And I wanted to see that little clip that's like it's like a 5-minute movie we did. I had written a story about a killer that kills only teenagers. And in 5 minutes, it was really, you had to go from somebody's disappeared to who could be the killer, and there's the killer, and how do we get it? And it was just so funny. And it's so funny because even back then, I did live shows and everything, and which is unique, and not a lot of people want to be in front of a camera and all of that. But even back then, when I would write stories or stuff, I was always the one that people wanted the stories. They were all like, whoa, okay. So it was I wanted to see that, but I gotta say, now I want to see the other tapes, because some of the movies, I want to see the ads. The commercials are just so funny. Although you can go on the internet and watch the old 80s commercials of almost anything now. People have channels of just commercials from the 70s and 80s. But but I wanted mostly to see my music videos, because some of them you can't find on YouTube. There's a lot of the music videos I have on these tips that are nowhere to be seen anymore. And so I want to keep them, because I was thinking that I wanted to preserve it. If I could have the VCR working good enough, I would record them in a video file on the PC to keep them for the future. So it was just, so that it's mostly that in my high school 5-minute movie that I wanted to have. I got to say, when I saw myself at 16, I was like, oh God, really? and I was this big. It was like, even that's big. Yeah, I was like so thin. It was like crazy. I can't even believe that a guy can be that thin. So anyways, I gotta say that the Panasonic, it's 20 years old. It's not the same quality as the Zenith. Zenith, weighs a ton, and it's clearly, I mean, it was purchased in 84, but it was a frontal cassette thing. You did not, because a lot of people bought a VCR back then, and it was top loading. You put it in the cassette and you close the door. That one in 1984 was one of the first with front loading feature. You would push the cassette in the front, like today's VCRs, or the VCRs that existed did. And it is top quality. That VCR played so many hours of tapes. It played so many hours of movies. I was one of the big fans of the blockbusters and stuff. I remember when I had a couple of friends. We would have our Saturday night movie night, and I was the only one with a VCR. So we would go out and rent. We would each rent one movie, and so we were 3 or 4. So we had like 3 or 4 movies to watch in a night. We'd buy chips and Coca-Cola and stuff, and we'd spend the night eating chips and watching movies. And we did that almost every week. So that VCR played a lot of tapes. And I am amazed because, I mean, it is from about 84. So it means it's 36 years old-ish. Crazy. 36 years old. Still works. That was really, really top quality. But that thing weighs a ton. That Panasonic here was 2000, was made in 2000, in 1999, I think. It weighs nothing compared to that old VCR. But even that, I mean, a 20-year run on a VCR, I consider that pretty good. Price isn't the same. The VCR, the Zenith, was about $1,000 in 1984. That Panasonic, I think I paid $179 in 2000. Not the same price, but pretty. But Panasonic also for me is a good brand, and it seems to be pretty nice. John Pickney still has an NIB RCA VHS VCR. New in box? Wow. Keegan has a 13-inch color TV from 1980s. Wow. Canadian Radio TV guy says have an old forehead sharp VCR from, I believe, the early 90s. It's crazy, eh? I mean, so many TVs I had. We had a Zenith TV. I think we threw it out because we were just tired of it. I had a Sony Trinitron here, 26-inch. And I mean, I got rid of it. I'm a little sad that I got rid of it. Maybe I should not have. Because I got to say that, the Commodore and Atari computers look very crappy on a normal TV. Today's HD TV, maybe I should not have. But anyways, it was really big and super heavy. Kevin Jane Apollo, Voice of China. No, it's not Voice of China, 9830, Kevin. It's Voice of Turkey. 9830 is Voice of Turkey in English. I'm getting it right now with a pretty good signal, too. So it's Voice of Turkey on 9830, Kevin. Harry Cottrell reminds me of a radio series, 10-Minute Mysteries. Yeah, it was pretty much that. And remember, we had to borrow the school's camera to do it. Man, it's crazy. Old time radio series was called 5 Minute Mystery. Well, that was kind of a 5 minute, very. It was a 5 minute, very, a 5 minute, very poor and crappy mystery. I looked at it and I was like, wow, that's bad. Atambale has WEWN 15610. Take care, Tom DXer. Stay safe. Special VHF UHF show coming this Sunday, by the way. Don't forget, guys, if you do listen to anything above 30 megahertz on the official VHF UHF channel, you will have the special satellite tracking and satellite listening show live on Sunday at 20 hours Universal Time. This coming Sunday at 20 UTC, August the 30th. Don't forget, for all of those also that here next week, I once again am taking the week off. But after that, after next week, we're going to be back to our normal weekly schedule of shows. What else do we have? Yeah, 20 years is pretty good, I think. Ricardo Silva still uses his VHF Panasonic and VH75 to record in hi-fi mode. Total 20 to 20 kilohertz. Hey, Jeff Barrett, nice to have you here. 1987, nice. Oh yeah, I mean today's TVs is pretty crazy. It's like you get a big TV for nothing. Really crazy. Tron says our first TV we had to put coins in to watch on for night. Hey Shelly, nice to have you here from Pennsylvania. Jeff Barrett says at a Sanyo Beta that I bought in 1985. I backed the wrong horse. The market went VHS. Oh man, yeah. That was bad for the for the people that purchased a beta and that VHS won. It's really sad. That's like when I got one of my laptops, one of the Toshiba laptops that I purchased several years ago was with an HD DVD player. And it was DVD, what was it? DVD HD, I think it was called. And there was, of course, Blu-ray that was battling it. And Blu-ray run. So when Blu-ray won, well, nothing much came out of the HD, DVD HD format. And so nothing much really happened. So I still have a nice, well, actually, it's that laptop I'm running the SDR on. That thing has an HD DVD, but it's not Blu-ray. It's an HD DVD. Oh, man. So the VHF UHF channel, I'll post the address right here. Sunday, August 30th, 20 hours UTC. Tracking satellites, hopefully listening to some here also. Rufus Newt says, I just have a whole lot of tube stuff, radios, amps, and more tubes. I still remember when I got some of my first tube radios, the American 5 tube radios and stuff like that, and any tube radios I would find. When they didn't work and I needed tubes, I still remember that not far from here, there was this TV repair guy. I mean, the first time I went there is when I was given a tube intercom system with AM radio. And there was one tube missing. So I wanted to have the tube, and on the bottom of the tube socket, the number of that tube was there. So I went there because I remember there was some tubes in the wall and stuff. I thought maybe I'm gonna, he's gonna have one. And it turns out it was an All American 5 tube radio, so like these tubes were like super easy to find. So that we're talking maybe 1992, 3, something like that. But I remember in 1992, that guy was old. I still remember I was, in 92, I was what? I was like 20, what was it? So 70, I was 23 years old, 24 years old. And the guy looked like he was 80, which probably was more like he was 60 or something like that. But anyways, when you're 24 years old, anybody that's over 50 looks old. That's the way we are sometimes. And I remember the guy was old and was like repairing TVs and radios and stuff, and he had tubes. So I went there and got the tube, and every time after that I found and got some new tube radios, and I needed some new tubes. Actually, old new tubes, because the tubes he had were tubes that he probably, that were in older receivers and things that he had over the years, and they were okay. He tested them okay, so he would sell them. And I would go there. And last time I went there was about a month later. It was shut down. I had a radio that I had purchased at a garage sale or something, and I needed to have a replacement tube. And I went there, got the tube. And now I guess he was maybe 80 years old for real. He was like really slow moving around and everything. I was like, wow, this guy is tired. And I passed in front of the place maybe a month after, and the place was shut down. Everything was still there, but it was closed. And one day I was going there, and there was a guy going in, and I said, "Oh, this is shut down for good." And he said, "Yeah, the owner died. So nothing is going to happen here. This is going to all go away." And I was thinking in my head, I was like, "Oh man, all the walls of tubes and tubes, that would have been so that probably was worth a lot of money." And I'm sure he had so many different tubes. I'm sure in there were some that were hard to find. So I don't know what they did with that. I just hope they didn't just throw everything in the dumpster, because those tubes, I'm sure, would have found a home somewhere. And I remember telling the guy, I said, well, what's going to happen with the stuff? And he didn't really know. He didn't really know nothing. And he seemed to be more in the, old junk stuff, where I was in the, the old TVs and the old radios, mostly the old TVs. Yeah, that's kind of old junk, but there's walls of tubes. That's old, good stuff still, William Helms, 1974 Lafayette LR 5000 Credisonic receiver, figuring out why the left channel. Yeah, the one that you posted the picture. It was really, really nice to see. Erica Trail says, our state has a sales tax free weekend tomorrow and Sunday. I got to figure out what to buy. You need to buy something. Dan V, good signal from Mexico. Ham XE3i on 14212. Let's check it out if I can hear it here. Oh, I got this weird tone. I hear something. We'll see if I hear the station. James Johnson, how about those video disc players? Oh yeah, that also. Those things that were like big, like LPs. Yeah. I remember a friend of mine that was like really, really into all of this and had one of those players. Wow. John Pickney. The Samsung my ex-girlfriend gave me is a 32-inch receiver. And leave where in my house were installed. I still have the TV and the Baofeng 2-meter 7070 HT she gave me. At least I still have the electronics. Oh, man. Yeah, sometimes looking at... sometimes it's looking at, on the internet also trying to find when something was built. A lot of those older devices also, there's a lot of the stickers that faded away. Sean Pinkney, there was a guy in Ottawa a few years ago, repaired VCRs and Lionel trains. Oh, God. I had one of those sets once when I was young from an uncle. They were big and heavy trains. I remember that. In Radio TV guy, you can find a lot of good tubes at Car Parts 911 on eBay. Huh. Wow, 81. W9JEF. Does anyone remember the 12-inch laser disc and laser disc player made by Pioneer? Yeah, I remember those things. Absolutely. Robert Osborne. Nice to have you on board, Robert, in Niagara Falls. Doing some shortwave listening on his old Grundig. And also listening to local repeater with his new GMRS. Cool. Branson, my dream, Zenith Transoceanic A600L. That's a machine. I like old radios. Thank you for the videos with Grundig. Shelly, Jill, what is the official name of that elderly radio? I might start asking for it for Christmas early. The elderly radio is the Reticus. I forgot the name. Let me just check it out here. I forgot the name. That maybe it proves I'm an elderly now. I'm an elder. I need to find the name again. Reticus Radio. It's the seems hard to find now. Do they have another one? They have an emergency radio. I'm trying to find it. Wow, I can't find it now. Oh, it's here. It's here, the TR618. I found it. $57.83 Canadian. $57.83 Canadian. The Reticus TR618 FM AM shortwave radio for the elderly with MP3 player and a carry handle. And there's a beautiful picture of old man doing yoga or something in the background, being all zen and beautiful. So it's a radio for the elderly. Oh, God. Man. Canadian radio guy. Was the frequency 14210 coming pretty strong here? Sounds like crappy ass CBRs. 14212 was the frequency, I believe. I'm hearing something, but not a lot. It's very weak. James Johnson. Well, Thomas Olson. Let's have you here. About a V115 now has for $20. By the way, there is a new slicker looking model available. I got the older version. We'll give it a trial this weekend. Just don't be too, overhyped when you get it, and maybe you'll be happy. What else do we have? Shelly says, thanks. I figured I forgot because I'm too old. Oh, God. So, hey, guys, we've been on for 2 hours and 20 minutes. I will take it easy for the rest of the evening. So, VHF, UHF show on Sunday, August 30th, special show. If you're interested in seeing that, we'll be tracking satellites, talking satellites, listening to satellites, and hope that you'll enjoy that coming up this Sunday. Special show on the VHF, UHF channel, which is here. And next week I'm off. So another week off. It will be the last week that I'm taking off. After that, we'll be back to the regular weekly shows like before. Take care, everybody. Hope you enjoyed today's show. It was a lot of fun to do. Stay safe, my friends. And see you maybe Sunday. Or see you next week. Not next week. In 2 weeks. See you in 2 weeks. If we don't see each other on this coming Sunday, we'll see each other. The exact date is we'll see each other on September the 9th, actually. So take care, everybody. Love you all. Stay safe. And 20 hours UTC on Sunday on the VHF UHF channel. That is this here. Not here. On the VHF UHF channel. So take care, everybody. See you soon.